Hey everyone, so these are the nasty holes from my last video. These holes are in the roof of the van and they're pretty rusty and pretty gross, and I decided to replace the steel completely. So I taped over the holes temporarily to avoid any leaks while I ordered new sheets of 22 gauge steel, and I made little rectangular replacements, and then I held them up to the roof and drew an outline with a marker, and then I drilled some holes so that I could see from the top where the replacement piece should go. So I marked the sections off, and then I went on top and put my replacement piece down and marked the sections again to make sure I knew exactly where I needed to plasma cut. And then I went to town with the plasma cutter, and the holes that I drilled made great starting points. So I basically plasma cut from hole to hole, and that means I didn't have to grind away any of the paint because I could get good contact with the steel with the plasma cutter starting at the drill holes. And then I just had to go slow. You can see the sparks flying to the side because I was going too fast. So here's a shot from the inside of the piece that I cut out, and kind of a blurry shot of the cut that I made. I've got a macro lens ordered, so my shots should be better in the future. But you can see the piece that I cut out, and on the inside, see some bubbles. On the outside, you can see where the rust formed, and you can see those rivets. So rivets aren't the best way to keep water out, obviously. I mean, long term. So replacing them with just welded in pieces is a great idea. It'll be waterproof for a very long time. So that's the outside, and that's the inside. You can see the bubbles that formed. And so instead of a riveted two-piece, it's just going to be one piece welded in place, like so. Back on the roof, I would position the new piece and again make any additional cuts that I needed to. Then I would place the piece as best as I could and kind of tuck it in there so that it was ready for welding. And once it was in place, I went inside the van and welded up a sheet of steel to block any sparks from getting on the seats. Unfortunately, some sparks still got on the seats, but that's okay. We're probably going to get new seats. And then I went to town welding. And I would have to weld pretty slowly because the steel is so thin that I couldn't get the metal too hot. So I would make a small bead, pause to let it cool off, build a bead on top of that, pause, and just keep building the bead until I had the entire section covered. So this one half section took about one afternoon, and sometimes I did two sections over a weekend, so this took about 5 weekends, maybe 6, to get all the sections replaced. But the good news is I got them all done. So these are all the plasma cut sections, the old sections that I removed. It was kind of tricky to do the peaks and valleys where the little ribs on the roof met with the replacement pieces. But this is a view from the back. You can see that I replaced both sections in the back here, and all that orange is just residue from welding. It's not rust or anything like that. And looking forward, you can see the middle section that I replaced right next to one of the frame ribs. So that is no longer leaking. There are some tiny little spots where the paint was getting through from the top, but that's something I can deal with in the far, far future. I definitely don't have to deal with that anytime soon. And in the meantime, I put some paint, just regular enamel white paint, on the welded sections on the roof. This will hold out for now, and I can always make it look better in the future, but my main priority was to stop the leaks, and so mission accomplished. I want to eventually put a Raptor liner on the roof, so it's okay that those bumps are up there from the welds and that it's not perfectly smooth because the texture of Raptor liner is pretty gritty, so what's underneath doesn't have to be perfect. So I think that's the plan for now. And going forward, it's springtime, it's warming up, so I'm going to have plenty of time to work on stuff. If work doesn't get crazy, I should be able to spend every weekend working on the van and making videos. So the next thing I'm going to tackle is the rear bed where the metal is practically disintegrating and getting the doors working in a more snug fashion so that I can close the doors and I don't have to worry about the back of the bed. If all goes well, I'll have a working van. I mean, I have a working van, but I'll have a van ready to hit the road in a few months. I want to be able to hit the road in a furnished van before winter. I really would rather not spend another winter here. So that's the plan. We'll see how far we get. That's it for this one, and I'll see you in the next video.